2022 was a great year for horror fans. We got quite a few remarkable horror movies that year, but one in particular had all of us stumped. I'm sure you guys know which one I'm talking about. Yes, we're talking about Zach Cregger's Barbarian. Something about the mother, this towering, ghoulish, deformed monster, ends up making her the most sympathetic character of them all. So, who is the mother? What makes her such an absolutely heartbreaking villain in the movie? Well, if you're curious about her, you've come to the right place. Join us as we unravel the mysteries behind the origins of the mother. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What happened in Barbarian? The introduction to Mother. Watching Barbarian is one of the most whiplash-inducing experiences ever. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone who saw the movie poster immediately assumed that Skarsgård would be the villain. And can you blame them? Bill Skarsgård literally haunted everyone's nightmares with his portrayal of Pennywise and Nosferatu. But I suppose that's exactly what Cregger was going for. This misdirection keeps the first half of the movie incredibly tense as we watch Tess, played by Georgina Campbell, arrive at an Airbnb she booked, only to find Keith, played by Bill Skarsgård, already staying there. We learn that there was some sort of double booking, and now both of them are stuck in the same house. Keith lets Tess in, and sure, he doesn't do anything wrong per se, but golly gee, the entire time, I was sitting there biting my nails, convinced something bad was going to happen to Tess. Even though Keith is super accommodating and seems like a kind person, his presence alone feels ominous. At one point, Tess finds a hidden door in the basement, and instead of noping her way out of there, she starts exploring the creepy, narrow hallway. She finds a room with a soiled mattress, a piss bucket, and a video camera pointed at the bed. Obviously, nothing good is going to come from this, and Tess wants to leave. However, Keith thinks she's being overly dramatic and goes down to check it out himself. As viewers, this is the joint where we're pretty sure Keith is behind the creepy dungeon room, and that Tess needs to get out of there ASAP. But she's a much kinder person than I will ever be, so she goes after Keith to save him. Of course, Keith suddenly jumps out at her, giving her a good scare. And at that moment, it really felt like he was about to kill her, but nope. Turns out, he was trying to run away from someone, and that someone is the mother. She's this naked, deformed, towering woman who kills Keith in a matter of seconds. Tess, along with the audience, is completely taken aback by her sudden appearance. Then, we immediately switch to AJ, played by Justin Long. He's one of Hollywood's many big shots who got Me Too'd. As he keeps talking, we quickly realize that the allegations against him aren't fake. He's already lost his job, and his legal bills are piling up. So now, he's heading to Detroit, in the hopes of making some money back by selling a house he owns there. And what do you know? That house just so happens to be the same one that Keith and Tess were in. Sure enough, AJ finds the basement and the hidden tunnel. Unlike Keith, who was skeptical, and Tess, who was terrified, AJ is thrilled because he realizes he can list the underground space as extra square footage to increase the value of the house. However, as he ventures deeper into the tunnel, he gets attacked by the mother. He later meets Tess when he accidentally falls into a pit. As it turns out, Tess has been held captive by the mother, and the only reason she has survived this long is by cooperating. However, AJ is a big man who won't listen to anyone. So when the mother tries to feed him from a disgusting bottle, AJ refuses, leading to him getting breastfed very much against his will. Tess manages to escape, only to come across Andre, a homeless man who warns her that the mother comes out to hunt when the sun goes down. Who is the mother? While we ponder that question, the movie shifts directions again, taking us back to the 1980s. We see a once flourishing Detroit neighborhood, now completely run down. From the same house we've seen throughout the film, a man steps out, Frank. He heads to a grocery store and buys baby products. While doing so, he stalks a woman and later appears at her house, disguised as a city worker. He unlocks a window, and it becomes painfully clear that he is going to harm her. Thankfully, we are spared from witnessing the horrors he inflicts. But the film provides enough clues for us to piece them together. It soon becomes evident that the true barbarian of this movie is Frank, and the mother is the tragic result of his actions. At one point, as AJ tries to escape, he stumbles upon a room. The mother, standing in the doorway, cowers in fear and retreats. Inside, we find Frank, now bedridden. The full extent of his crimes is never explicitly shown, but we get a horrifying glimpse when AJ plays one of the many tapes labeled with women's names, stacked by Frank's bedside. AJ's visceral reaction, combined with the sinister bedroom containing only a mattress and a filthy bucket, as well as Frank's immediate suicide upon being confronted, makes it devastatingly clear what transpired in that house. As night falls, the mother goes after Tess, but Tess manages to hit her with a car, pinning her against the house. Andre helps AJ and Tess to safety, taking them to his shelter. There, Andre explains that the mother is the product of years of inbreeding. Frank kidnapped women, impregnated them, and continued the cycle for generations. Why Andre never reported this to anyone remains a mystery. Before we can process this grim revelation, the mother reappears, ripping off Andre's arm and beating him to death with it. AJ and Tess scramble up a water tower, desperately trying to escape. In a final act of cowardice, AJ throws Tess off the tower. Knowing the mother will instinctively go after her, he's right. The mother flings herself off without hesitation, prioritizing Tess's safety over everything else. Cradling Tess as they fall, she manages to shield her from the worst of the impact, keeping her alive. When AJ descends and tries to justify his actions as an accident, the mother kills him without hesitation. She then turns to Tess, devastated by her injuries. The way she looks at Tess, the way she speaks, it's heartbreakingly clear that she sees Tess as her child. She mutters broken words, trying to take Tess home, but Tess refuses. As she raises a gun to the mother's head, the mother does not resist. She only cares that Tess is in pain and wants to comfort her. In the end, Tess pulls the trigger, killing the mother, not as an act of triumph, but as a mercy. Because the mother was never the villain. She was not evil. She was born of it. She was a victim of Frank's atrocities. Knowing nothing beyond the dark confines of that house and the single instructional video on breastfeeding, all she understood was that she needed a baby, someone to keep her company. The crushing loneliness she endured, the horrors Frank subjected her to, and the twisted world she was forced to exist in, all shaped her into the tragic figure we see. By the end of Barbarian, our perception of the mother has completely shifted. The emotional whiplash Cregger pulls off is nothing short of masterful. We feel sympathy for her, and we realize that in this entire nightmare, the only true barbarians were Frank and AJ, not the mother. Cregger's inspiration for Mother. You have to wonder what really went on inside Cregger's head when he created this character, so horrifying and yet so tragic. Well, Cregger was actually inspired to create this character based on Grendel's mother. Originally, he wanted to make the mother look more human-like. However, in the end, he decided against it because he felt that the twist would become too obvious that way. Instead, they designed her as a towering woman with a deformed mouth and face, ragged hair, and dirt caked onto her skin. So, you might be wondering, who is Grendel's mother, right? Well, to understand that, we first have to know a little about Grendel. Grendel made his first appearance in the Old English heroic poem, Beowulf. The bard who composed this poem never signed their name, so we do not know the author's identity. But the story goes as follows. Grendel is one of the cursed descendants of Cain. He is tormented by the joyous singing from Heorot, the great mead hall built by King Hrothgar. Driven by his anguish, he attacks the hall every night, killing its inhabitants. Beowulf, our hero, hears of these attacks and sets out to confront Grendel. In battle, Beowulf defeats him and beheads him. However, What Beowulf does not realize is that his victory provokes the wrath of Grendel's mother, another fearsome figure in Anglo-Saxon mythology. She is often associated with water, and some scholars suggest she may be inspired by an ancient Slavic water goddess. After Grendel's defeat, he retreats to the marshes, where he dies. When his mother finds his corpse, she swears vengeance. She tracks down and kills Hrothgar's most loyal advisor, Aesir. Enraged, Beowulf and Hrothgar join forces to hunt her down. They enter her underwater lair, and a fierce battle ensues. Initially, she has the upper hand, but ultimately, Beowulf decapitates her. In the 1999 film adaptation of Beowulf, Grendel's mother is portrayed as a shapeshifter. She can transform into a beautiful woman to seduce men and manipulate them to her advantage. When this fails, she reverts to her monstrous form. In this version, she seduces Hrothgar and gives birth to Grendel, making Hrothgar Grendel's father. The 2000 film adaptation takes a different approach. Here, Grendel's mother is the primary antagonist. After Beowulf kills Grendel, he tracks her to her cave, where she seduces him and bears his child. Years later, this child grows up and attacks Beowulf's kingdom. Their final battle results in the deaths of both father and son. At Beowulf's funeral, Grendel's mother reappears, attempting to seduce Wiglaf, Beowulf's closest companion and heir to the throne, in an effort to continue the cycle that began with Hrothgar. However, this time, Wiglaf resists her temptations, seemingly breaking the cycle for good. While Cregger drew from mythology to shape Barbarian, Matthew Patrick Davis, the actor who portrays the mother, took a drastically different approach in preparing for the role. Seeking to understand the character on a deeper level, he researched real-life cases of children raised in extreme neglect and deprivation, an experience he later admitted was deeply disturbing. He studied the tragic effects of growing up without love while desperately craving it. Perhaps the empathy Davis felt for the mother is something we should all aspire to, because in the end, the mother is not the villain, she's the victim. Hero or villain, which one is she? There is no doubt in the mind of anyone who has seen this movie that the mother is not the villain. She is not the hero of the film either. She's simply a tragic character. She spent her entire formative years clinging to the only sweet, affectionate thing she had, the nursing video. Because of that, she kept searching for a baby at 476 Barbary Street at night. She wanted to love something in the only way she had ever seen, mimicking what she learned from the tape, never realizing that she was loving the wrong way. This distorted view of love is what makes the mother both terrifying and sympathetic at the same time. Many fans picked up on the fact that Andre mentioned there was something far worse than the mother in that house. While some assume this means there are more inbred monstrous children down there, I believe Andre was referring to Frank, the true villain of this story. He raped, abused, and assaulted countless women. He enjoyed the fact that he did all of that, treating those videotapes as his trophies. I don't care if he was drinking himself to death to numb the pain or guilt of what he did all those years ago, because that does not excuse his actions. He raped and killed multiple women, and I wouldn't be surprised if he abused the children too. This repeated cycle of abuse and isolation, combined with the genetic complications of inbreeding, ultimately led to the creation of the mother. And even then, we see her cowering in fear when AJ walks into Frank's room. That begs the question, what did Frank do to her? Nothing fatherly, I am sure. Frank is the scum of the earth, and even though the mother has killed 3 people in extremely brutal ways, I would still say she is not the villain of the movie. She's just a woman who wanted love but never received it the right way. Marvelous verdict. Barbarian was truly a shocking film. I went into it thinking that Keith would be the villain. The first half of the movie sets him up as the suspiciously nice guy, and just when we think Tess is going to have to fight off Keith, we are introduced to the mother. Her appearance is brutal, and her killing of Keith is shocking, to say the least. Then we meet AJ, who is definitely a bad person, and of course, I was hyped to see him die. But as the runtime went on and we learned more about the mother, I started feeling bad for her. She truly was just a product of her nurture and environment. I wonder if that's also why she reacts so aggressively to men from the start. What do you guys think? Do you see the mother as a victim, a villain, or a hero? Let us know in the comments, and I'll see you all the next time. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.